ruler says to the rock, "You rock," and the ruler
I
says,
rule.
"I rule." Something like that. Anyway. Whatever. Dear fellow Toastmasters, I will talk a bit of more serious topic. So, I hope for nothing, I fear nothing, I am free. But what does it mean to be free? What is the meaning of freedom? We fought many wars as humanity against oppressors, against dictators, kings, and enemies, and so on to be free. We live now in a free state. Belgium is a free country. European Union is free. But are we really free? Is this all that there is to freedom? Is it just fight against oppression? Or is there something else, more personal and more inside us? Are we really free? As I have the impression we're not. Especially when all we're doing every day is going and buying things, or when we have to pay back mortgages, or when we live in a closed house against 4 walls and 2 roofs, or when whatever we do, it seems like it's because other people tell us to do it, or because we are afraid of what other people will think about us. I hope for nothing, I fear nothing, I am free. It's a simple phrase, which besides on my t-shirt, if you knew Greek, you would also read in the tomb of one of the most famous Greek philosophers and writers of modern history, that of Nikos Kazantzakis, who is the guy that wrote Zorba the Greek, if you're aware of the book. And it's also this phrase that inspired me to come here and talk to you tonight about freedom and what does it mean to be free. I will have to disappoint you in the sense that what I'm going to talk about is not the result of research that I did or something I read in a cool book and I want to share with you. It's merely my own personal reflections on the topic, and so take them as such and feel free to discuss them afterwards. So why am I talking about freedom? I'm approaching what my colleagues call the one-third crisis, life crisis, as opposed to the midlife crisis, right? Since I'm a bit too young for that. And I'm trying to understand myself, and I'm trying to see what I want to do with my life. And I see that I'm not as free as I would like to be. And since I think that it is a topic that can touch more people, I decide to share and talk the areas in which I don't feel free with myself. It's what I call the 3 pillars of freedom, let's put it this way, which are the freedom from desire, the freedom from fear, and the freedom from judgment. And I will go through each one of them, explaining what I mean. So the freedom from desire. For many years, centuries, freedom is connecting with choice, right? If a person can choose for himself, we consider him to be free. Thus, the more options a person has to choose from, the more free we think he is, right? Well, there is a paradox there, where it says completely the opposite. The more options a person has, the less free this person is. And that's why it's called a paradox. So I will give you an example to understand what I mean. Imagine you want to go and buy a cell phone, right? You go to the shop and you say to the guy, I want a cell phone. He says, great, we have 1,000 cell phones. Pick one. Too many options. Does that make you more free? A lot of people tend to block when they have a lot of options to choose from. And let's say that you manage to narrow it down to 5 different models that have all the specifications you want. Like you want a camera, a touchscreen phone, and blah blah blah. My phone that plays YouTube and so on. But still, 5 options is too much to choose from. And there are 2 negative things regarding too many options. The first one is that if we have too many options, we tend not to be happy with the choices we make. Because we always tend to think that life would have been different if we were choosing the other model, or we would have enjoyed our time more if we were going on vacations to the other island, or I don't know, whatever. So we're never happy because we think too much of the choices we didn't make. So that's the first problem. And the second problem is that because we are living in a free society and we have the chance, we are able to choose again. So for instance, after a year when we get bored of our phone, we go and buy a new one. And that's how we end up having a lot of crap in our houses. It's a casual meeting. It's true. Most of our drawers or wardrobes is full with stuff we don't need. And that makes us less free, because the more we own, the less we have. And thus we want to earn even more and accumulate more things in our house, right? And we are trapped in this vicious cycle, something that takes our freedom away. So what we can do is, first of all, be happy with our choices. And second of all, don't desire so many options. So that's why I call it this freedom from desire. The next one is the freedom from fear. And when I'm talking about fear, I'm talking about any kind of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of natural elements, fear of loss or something like that. And if we want to be free, we have to abolish fear, right? I choose to speak about one type of fear more specifically, and it's what I tend to believe is the number one fear of people. You all heard the story that number one fear of people is public speaking, right? I guess so. I would like to disagree with that. I would like to say that people are mostly afraid of death. Okay? And the reason why this death does not appear as a first option, but only as a second, is because people don't even think about it. Okay, let's have an honest poll. Who is not afraid of dying here? Okay, we have 1 out of 8. And there's nothing wrong with being afraid of dying, right? It's completely natural. It's something unknown. We don't know what's going to happen to us. What I find wrong, though, is not thinking about it and postponing realizing that one day we're not going to be standing here. And by postponing this realization, we're also postponing thinking about things that matter. We are consuming our time doing things that are less important. I have 8 minutes, by the way, I think. That are less important, 8 to 10. Fine. I was expecting. That are less important, and we lose the focus from the most important things in life. Okay? And that's what makes us less free. Because they say that if you want to live free, you should live as if you're going to die tomorrow. Right? As if there's no next day. Now that might sound a bit too extreme, because you also want to have long-term goals and dreams and so on. So what I like to say is that let's not try to live as if we're going to die tomorrow. Let's try to live as if we're going to die next year, or something like that. Let's keep it in our minds that our life is finite, and one day we're not going to be here. So that's the freedom from fear. The freedom from judgment is the last pillar. And what I mean by judgment is our fear that people always think about us, always think things about us. That we are always afraid that no matter what we do, or what we're going to wear at work, or what we're going to wear during our speech, or what we're going to say at work, people will criticize. Well, if we were to realize how not often people think about this stuff, we would be surprised. Eleanor Roosevelt, the wife of President Roosevelt, once said that if we were to realize how seldom other people think about us, we wouldn't worry about it that much. Right? And it's true. So the last pillar that we have to abolish is it's fear of what other people think about us. So we have to do what we want to do and not care about other people. Alright? So we have our 3 pillars. Do we want to be free? Then we have to be free from desire. We have to be happy with our choices and not desire too many options. We have to be free from fear. We shouldn't live without realizing our own death, and we should understand that one day we're not going to be here. And we should be free from judgment. We want to do what we want to do in our lives, and we should do it as soon as possible. I hope for nothing, I fear nothing, and I'm free. Now, this is my opinion over matters. It doesn't necessarily have to be yours as well, right? I hope I managed to start the thinking process within you and start thinking about it as soon as possible. You have to create your own pillars of freedom, right? Based on your own principles and on your own thoughts. But I urge you to do it as soon as possible and not postpone this thing. Because if we don't work on building our own dreams, we're going to help others build their own.